In this video we are testing the Canon EF 50mm 1.8 STM lens. This full-frame lens performs well on APS-C and full-frame DSLRs from Canon. However, we are adapting it and testing it on a Lumix G9 camera using Viltrox adapters. With EFM1 and EFM2 adapters, the focal lengths become 100mm and 70mm respectively. Note that this is a focus by wire lens and there is no mechanical manual focus, so therefore you will need an electronic adapter. At these focal lengths, this lens becomes suitable for portrait photography and videography and also close-up photography. It renders images quite well and performs under low light conditions. The STM version of this lens replaces the former Mark II and Mark I versions, which are now discontinued. The lens does not have any optical image stabilization, nor is it weather sealed. However, these should not be seen as limitations given the low price point of $100 to $125 for this lens. Wide open at f1.8, this lens is reasonably sharp, but it improves considerably at f2.8. Now, looking at the focus charts, at f1.8 the center is reasonably sharp, but the corners are slightly soft with some light fall off. At f2.8 the center and the corners are sharper and the fall off is invisible. At f4 the center and corners are even sharper, with peak sharpness at f5.6 at the center and corners. It remains sharp at the corners up to f8, and beyond that it softens at the centers and corners due to diffraction. Looking at the corners in detail, we see at f1.8 it's slightly soft and sharpens at f2.8 with the fall off disappearing. Peak sharpness is at f5.6 and remains sharp till f8, and beyond that it softens due to diffraction. With this lens, autofocus is limited to autofocus single on the Lumix G9. The motor on this lens is a little bit noisy. On Canon DSLRs, manual override of autofocus is achieved by pressing the shutter button down halfway and activating manual focus. However, this does not work consistently on the Lumix G9 and you're forced to use the switch to reliably manually focus. Other than the manual override limitation, autofocus single does work reasonably well on the Lumix G9 with this lens. I took this camera and lens to Venice Beach to demonstrate how well this lens performs. The settings are as follows: ISO 200, shutter speed 1/60th of a second. The aperture range was from f2.8 to f5.6 with all shots handheld. As you can see, this lens performs extremely well on the Lumix G9. The lens is light and compact enough such that it doesn't feel out of place on a Micro Four Thirds body. Given the low price and performance, you really can't go wrong with this lens on a Lumix G9 or any Lumix G series camera. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.